Hello and welcome to Senior Solutions, where we bring you topics affecting seniors and their loved ones. And I'm your host, Mindy Fellenton. And I'm joined today by Melanie Polk, who is a dietitian nutritionist and the director of the Senior Nutrition Program for Montgomery County. Welcome, Melanie. I'm so glad you're here today.
Thank you. Very happy to be here.
And I am looking forward to learning all about the nutrition program.
Okay.
So if you would just kind of start out, I guess, give us a little bit of background about how you became interested in that field, and then we can segue into the nutrition program.
Okay. Well, I've been a registered dietitian nutritionist for over 30 years. And I've done a number of things in my career, and I've always especially enjoyed working with seniors. And I had the opportunity with the county to take this job about 12 years ago. And I've been working with the Senior Nutrition Program, which is with Health and Human Services. And we have this program, which is actually part of the Older Americans Act, the federal Older Americans Act. And it specifically has two parts. The Senior Nutrition Program is made up of the congregate program and the home delivered meal program. So let me tell you a little bit about that.
Okay,
the congregate program is kind of like an eating together program, and it gets people, it helps them to age in place. So basically we're talking about giving them the opportunity to get out of the house, make new friends, be with the friends they've already had, learn new things, take part in activities, get some physical activity, and have lunch as well. And the lunch is provided Monday through Friday at about close to 30 sites throughout the county. And they're spread out pretty well through the county also. So it's a big program, and we serve almost 6,000 seniors in the county. So it's a big program. Yeah. Some sites are bigger than others. We have some sites that are in apartment buildings in the county, but we also have most of our sites in recreation centers and community centers and in senior centers. So
how often do they have the programs then?
The programs are Monday through Friday all year long. But there are a couple that have meals only Tuesday and Thursday or Wednesday and Friday or whatever, but most of them are Monday through Friday. Okay.
And how do the participants find out about the program?
Well, a lot of them tell each other about it. A lot of them find out from their church or their synagogue or from their friends or their bridge club or their mahjong club or wherever. And so a lot of it is word of mouth. Mm-hmm. And
is there a cost for the people who are in the program?
Actually, the meals are available for a voluntary contribution. So the actual cost of the meal is $5.72. And if you're under the age of 60, you have to pay the full price. But if you are 60 or over, or the spouse of somebody who is 60 or over, the meal is available for a voluntary contribution.
Very nice. So is that funded then by federal funds, or is it funded by county?
It's a combination primarily of federal funds. We have some state funds, we have some county funds, and we have some money from the donations that help to pay for our meals.
And do you oversee then the menus for
we have a caterer that's in Baltimore, actually, that does a lot of the counties and provides meals for all those people. So we're talking about a caterer that provides thousands of meals every day for seniors around the state. So we have the caterer who goes and delivers meals to all the different sites.
Wow. They've got to be busy.
They are very busy, yes, yes.
And then the other program that you offer?
The Home Delivered Meals Program, or otherwise called Meals on Wheels, is a program that is for people who are very frail. They really can't get out of the house to go to the grocery store. They really can't prepare their own food, and they don't have anybody to help them to get the groceries or to prepare food. It keeps them out of nursing homes. It helps them also to age in place. It's the kind of program that is really godsend to a very desperate population for many people in the county. Basically, they get deliveries of food Monday through Friday. We have volunteers. We have close to 1,000 volunteers. Many of them are retired. Many of them work and do this as part of their job. They go out at lunchtime and they deliver meals to needy people in their area. And very often they establish a relationship with the person who's receiving the meals, and it also gives them an opportunity to knock on the door and make sure that the people are okay. They'll say, "How are you doing today?" And sometimes, if the person is well enough, they'll have a little conversation. They can notice a few things in the house. Sometimes they'll put the food in the refrigerator, and they'll see that maybe there are already a dozen containers of milk in the refrigerator. So, the volunteers are a very, very important part of that program because they give the Meals on Wheels recipients the opportunity to have some social contact as well.
Yeah. Wow, how beautiful. That's a win-win. So, knowing that there's a volunteer component to this program, what are the qualifications or the vetting, I guess, of volunteers who want to be involved with that?
Well, volunteers generally have a love of seniors. They want to give back in the community. They do need to have a criminal background check. They very often are accompanied by somebody else in their car. Somebody drives, somebody gets out of the car and delivers the meal. It's really a love of people and a love of an aspect of life that we call volunteering, which is so important in terms of, doing your own thing and then being able to give back as well.
Yeah, it's beautiful. So, what are the requirements then to be able to have the food delivered or participate in the other program?
Well, the requirements, again, are for the home delivered meals program. These people are very, very frail. The people who are not so frail and can get out and do some things and interact with people go to the congregate sites.
So the people who are the home Meals on Wheels recipients, what do they do to become a recipient of that?
Well, usually the doctor will recommend it to them, or if they've been in the hospital, they've had surgery, they have to go home and be by themselves. Sometimes a discharge nurse will recommend it. Sometimes a son or a daughter will call me or my office manager and say, I'm concerned about my mother who lives in I live in California, my mother lives in Montgomery County. How can we help her? And so we look to see whether there are other kinds of sources of help that they need as well. Perhaps it's physical therapy, or perhaps it's some sort of adult protective services or something like that. But if they need meals, we will set them up, help them to find the right Meals on Wheels program in the county.
So there's no financial requirement?
Well, again, it's the same thing. If they're over 60, then the meal is available for a voluntary contribution. Many of the people who get Meals on Wheels pay the whole cost of the meal. Many of them can't pay anything. Some of them are very low income, but some of them are able to pay the entire cost.
And so there's no, for example, what I was trying to get at, I guess, is there's no assessment that's made by the county to determine their level of
There is
need.
an assessment. There is an assessment that is done. Usually there's a volunteer or the president or the director of the Meals on Wheels program will either go out to their house or they will call them on the phone and they will do an interview and find out why they need Meals on Wheels. Are they eating 3 meals a day? Are they at high nutritional risk? Do they have any degree of social interaction? Can they cook on their own? Can they go out and get groceries on their own? And then they get information like, emergency people and what happens if the volunteer knocks on the door and there's no answer. So we get all this information one way or the other, and then they are prioritized in terms of whether or not they should be getting meals. There are some people who actually have been to the hospital, they've had an operation, they needed Meals on Wheels for a short period of time, and then it's time to go out and let somebody else who needs it more. Okay.
Yeah. So the food, for example, or the diet, I suppose, is a better choice of words. The diet, is that the same for everybody, or are there specifics, for example, if somebody is low sodium?
Okay. Actually, it's food and it's a diet, but it's mostly, I refer to it as the menu, because all of the food is the same for everyone, but the food is prepared with no salt, is prepared such that there's very little fat, and the amount of saturated fat is very low. So then it would be appropriate for people with diabetes or people with hypertension or people with heart disease. We don't have very specific diets because, like kidney disease, for example, most of the meals cannot be prepared that way because there are thousands of people who are getting these meals. So the meals are developed with the registered dietitians who participate in the meal development along with the caterer.
Okay. So it makes sense that otherwise, if you had to cater to everyone's specific situation.
Right. But there's a choice. There's a hot choice and a cold choice. So, you might get chicken parmesan or you might get a tuna fish sandwich. So people get a chance to choose between a hot meal or a cold meal, Monday through Friday.
And you were talking about the call that's basically placed to the person.
Yes.
The high nutrition risk was one of the criteria I think that you were talking about that they ask or assess. What does that mean?
Well, that means that they're not eating adequately to be able to maintain good health. Are they eating fruits and vegetables? Are they eating enough fiber? Are they able to cook again? Are they taking a lot of medications that might interfere with their ability to absorb certain nutrients? Are they eating 3 meals a day? Are they eating by themselves? These are all the kinds of things that make us wonder whether or not they are getting what they need in order to age in place, and most of these people really want to do that.
Yeah, of course. And the congregate program, it's a similar vetting of people.
It's the same food. It's basically the same food. And the people like the idea of being able to pick up a hot meal or a cold meal. They sit at the tables and they join each other and make new friends. And they are pretty vocal about whether or not they like the food. Most of the people like the food, which is nice. Of course, it's not like the home-cooked food. But most of the people are very pleased. I have to say there are some people, this is the only meal that they eat all day.
Oh, wow.
So we know that the content nutritionally of the meal is very important, and that it's a very, very important important program, not only socially, but also nutritionally.
Yeah. Well, we're going to take a short break, and when we come back, I'd like to delve in a little bit more to that aspect of the program. So we're going to take a short break and we'll be right back.
Hart, what's going on?
I'm leaving.
Why? What did I do?
Not enough. You constantly ignore me. You barely eat anything healthy. You're half as active as you used to be. The pressure is just too much. I quit.
Okay, I get it. I'll do better. Just please, don't leave.
Okay. But remember, if I go, you go.
Listen to your heart. Don't let it quit on you. Uncontrolled high blood pressure could lead to stroke, heart attack, or death. Get yours to a healthy range before it's too late.
Hello and welcome back to Senior Solutions, where we bring you topics affecting seniors and their loved ones. And I'm your host, Mindy Fellington, joined today by Melanie Polk, who is a dietitian, nutritionist, and the director of the Senior Nutrition Program for Montgomery County. And this has just been very informative so far. Thank you so much
You're
again.
very welcome.
Let's go back to nutrition, because we all hear and read things, you're waiting in line to check out at the supermarket.
Oh, yes.
So what are the fact from fiction realities of nutrition?
The reality is, and this is really for everyone, but I happen to see more of these advertisings in magazines or newspapers or standing in the grocery store line that focus on seniors. Seniors are worried about getting wrinkles. They're worried about their getting Alzheimer's disease. They're worried about their health in a variety of ways. And so, if they see a caption somewhere, they see something in the drugstore that says, help stop the aging process or whatever, they're going to look at it.
Yeah.
So we want to make sure that people really know where to go for reliable information. And I think that, if you say to somebody, and this is, anybody, and they say something that's not true, and they say, "What? Where did you hear that?" And they say, "My tennis instructor told me that."
It's gospel.
Clearly, yes, yeah. Or my next door neighbor told me that, or I heard it on whatever show on TV, where that even though the person is supposedly an expert, that they really aren't. They don't have a background in nutrition.
So what is the best source?
Well, the best source, if you have a registered dietitian available to you, and I have to say that there is a registered dietitian available in the county. We have a senior nutrition hotline. If anybody's got a pencil and they want to write down the number, it's 240-777-1100. 240-777-1100. And if you call on Wednesday morning between 9 and 11, a registered dietitian happens to answer the phone, and the registered dietitian happens to be me. So what I try to do during that period of time is help people to separate fact from fiction, and they'll say, I heard that if we all stopped eating gluten, we would all be much healthier. And the fact is that there are some people who have celiac disease, where you have to eliminate gluten. And there are some people who seem to be gluten intolerant, and they too will feel better if they don't eat gluten. But in no way will a person lose weight or age less quickly or any of the other things if they eliminate gluten from their diets.
So it's not that magic pill.
No, there really are. There's nothing magic. There's no magic food. It really is a question of eating a variety of healthy foods. I once had as a client that said, "You're going to be so proud of me. I ate broccoli every day this week." Okay, well, he missed the point. The point is variety. Yes, broccoli is wonderful. It has some very important protective nutrients. But the fact is, eat a variety. Get a variety of colors of fruits and vegetables. Eat lots of foods with fiber in them. Hot cereals very often will have fiber added to them. If you're eating meat, eat lean meat. If you're eating dairy products, eat the low-fat or the non-fat products. So there are a whole variety of things to do to get the right information and to get to know the nutrition facts label, which is going to change, by the way.
Oh, really?
The calories are going to be bigger, and the serving size is going to be bigger. And many people don't realize that when you look at the nutrition facts label, the thing you want to look at first is
serving size.
Yes, very good. Most of the people that I talk to don't know that. The serving size, because everything else on that nutrition facts label relates to the amount that you're eating.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, I learned that a while ago, and 5 pounds up, but those cookies said only 200 calories.
Yes.
For one half a cookie.
That's right.
So, I learned that lesson. Okay, great. That was very helpful. So, how does somebody find out about the locations for the congregate meals?
Yeah. Well, there are a couple of ways. Sometimes you'll see it in the Senior Beacon, or you'll you'll see it in the newspaper or whatever. But if you hear about the program, or you have an elderly parent that might benefit from getting out of the house and doing something with other people, getting a nutritious meal, and let's say they look on the website of the county, and they'll look up seniors, you'll see the list of congregate sites there. If you call our main number, I'll give you that number now also, which is 240-777-3810. And that's the number for our program, which will tell you where there are senior centers, where lunch is available, where there are senior programs, where these congregate programs exist. Usually we're going to say to you first, what town do you live in? And then we'll give you the information about the closest place. Some of the locations also have transportation.
Oh, really? Oh, wow.
Not
Very
all,
nice.
but many of them do.
And are there programs specifically for certain ethnic?
Oh, absolutely. This is one of the reasons why we are a really special program in Montgomery County. We have a very multi-ethnic population here, and the Senior Nutrition Program has contracts with a variety of different ethnic programs. We've got a couple of Chinese programs, we've got Korean programs, we've got Vietnamese programs, we also have a kosher program. These people, many of whom don't even speak English, or they just came over to this country. They might live with their children. They may only speak their own language at home, or with their friends who also don't speak English. So these are programs where they get their ethnic foods, they get to meet their ethnic friends, and this is quite an advantage to having congregate programs that are multi-ethnic.
So then those menus will vary from the other populations?
They will vary, and that's primarily because the ethnic programs subcontract with a restaurant that serves their particular ethnicity.
And do they make reservations that they're coming, or they just
No, they don't
up?
come. They don't. The restaurants bring the food to the congregate location.
Right.
So some of them have to call the day before, and some of them call 10 o'clock in the morning. There is a specific menu. I believe some of them have, there's a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday menu, and they vary 3 times a year. So if people come in and they say they want to have lunch by 10:30 in the morning, the person who's in charge will call the restaurant, and by noon or 12:30, the food will arrive.
Wow, what a system.
It's a great system.
So what are your thoughts about eating out versus cooking at home?
Well, a lot of times people who have retired, people who are doing other things, they're focused on hobbies, or in fact, they're even looking for new things to do. They may be more interested in going out. They don't want to cook. But the fact is that if they're cooking, they're much more likely to be eating healthier. Now, many restaurants now have some healthier options. For example, I love the idea that I can go into some restaurants and order half a sandwich, because the sandwiches are so big otherwise. I might take half of it home.
Right.
But when you cook at home, you know exactly what's going into the food. You know if they're using olive oil or whether you're eating olive oil or butter. You know whether they're taking the fat off the meat in advance. You know where the fish is coming from. You know
farm versus wild.
Absolutely. I mean, all of these things, you know what it is that you're preparing. And there is so many resources for easy recipes, not only in cookbooks, but on the internet, in the newspapers sometimes. And again, cook for a few days, put the extra in little containers, put them in the freezer. I recommend labeling them and putting the date on too, because sometimes, you kind of push it in the back and forget about it. But a lot of times, you may be making, let's say, some sort of stewed tomatoes with the tomatoes in your garden, perhaps, and you want to save them to use during the winter. So you stew the tomatoes, put them in a container, label them, date them, put it in the freezer.
And speaking of that, how long do you recommend people keep food in the freezer before they eat it or throw it out?
It really depends on what the food is. Sometimes when food is in the freezer and you leave it in there for 2 months, 3 months, 4 months, 5 months, something like that, or longer, you'll see that there's some frost on the top. And most of the time, that's fine. But very often what you'll notice is that the flavor just won't be as fresh tasting as it would have been before. One of the questions, Mindy, that I get a lot is, what's better? Frozen vegetables, fresh vegetables, canned vegetables? And some people don't realize, they think that if you don't get fresh vegetables, that you're not getting good nutrition. But the reality is that when farmers grow vegetables and they harvest them with the intention of having them frozen, they are flash frozen. And what that means is that the vegetables are frozen immediately, meaning that they're able to maintain all the nutrients that they have.
Good. That's good to
so
hear.
Frozen vegetables, when they're on sale, buy a lot.
All right. I was doing that last night. That's good to know because, yes, that's the one of the great debates,
Yes.
So that's really helpful. And what about supplements, vitamin supplements?
Well, if you're eating a great diet and you're eating between 5 and 9 servings of fruits and vegetables per day, for example, and, many of us don't do that, then it's not a bad idea to take a senior supplement. And the most important thing to look at, though, is look at the nutrition facts label, and I would look for USP, which stands for United States Pharmacopoeia, where they've actually looked at the product and make sure that what they say is in the pill is actually in the pill. But also...
What a concept.
Yes, actually. But also that when you look at that nutrition facts label, you see that it's got about 100% of the daily value, or the DV. Because some of them say, super duper age-preventing magical supplement, and they've got 1,000% of this and 500% of this and that, and that's where you get into mega vitamins, and they can act more as a medication rather than as a nutrition supplement.
And I suppose, but certainly you would know the answer to that there could be harm in taking too many of these things as well.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
And
then there's also the potential for an interaction with some of those supplements?
Well, some of them can interact with medications. For example, blood thinners and vitamin K can interact. Most people who are on blood thinners, and blood thinners are very common in older Americans. So, you got to watch out for that vitamin K. So you have to learn about the vitamin K, and hopefully your doctor or your registered dietitian will give you information about that.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for being here, Melanie.
My pleasure.
It was really informative.
Thank you.
And is there another number if somebody wanted to reach out to
the major number to call, 240-777-3810.
Okay, thank you again.
You're welcome.
And if you have a topic you'd like to see on Senior Solutions, please feel free to email me at seniorsolutions@mmctv.org. Thank you, and we'll see you next time.